they fought shoulder to shoulder like this with these things that we call rifle muskets. They're different from what their forefathers had used in, say, the Revolutionary War. Yet these soldiers used the same tactics that they had used in the Revolutionary War and earlier wars, largely because this is a top-loading muzzle loader, which means everything has to go down from the top end where the bullet comes out. And also because their generals and their officers went to West Point or other military academies where they learned the tactics of the prior wars. In prior wars, you had a smoothbore musket. That means that your weapon was basically a metal tube into which you dumped gunpowder and a round lead ball. It was very inaccurate. You couldn't hope to hit anything at more than 50 yards or even 25 yards. So what they did was they stood shoulder to shoulder. They let the enemy come on, and when they got in range, they all pointed their weapons and fired at the same time. The idea was that you could not hit what you were aiming at, but you could hopefully hit something. And you would cause casualties among the enemy, and then you would cover that distance with a spear point attached to the end of your rifle called a bayonet. But by the Civil War, they had changed these weapons dramatically. They had cut grooves down into the barrel, and they replaced the round lead ball with a bullet that looked like this. You see how different it is? And it would expand inside the barrel, it would catch those grooves, and it would spin on the way out. So instead of being like a shot put or a spitball, it was now like a spiral football pass, greatly increasing its accuracy. So instead of hoping to hit something at 25 yards, now you could aim at something at 300 yards and hit it. But they still used these shoulder-to-shoulder tactics, came on at each other, each army maneuvering to try and get to what they called the flank of the other army. Because instead of shooting straight on at each other, if you could get around the side of them, you could do more damage. But the other side knew that, and they were trying to do the same thing and prevent you from doing it to them. So most of the time in the Civil War, they ended up in battles like here, where they would just head straight on at each other, which is why the cornfield exchanged hands 14 or 15 times. In order to do this, they drilled all the time, all day long, virtually every day. And that was all about getting into this position the same way every time, the same people in front of you, behind you, and next to you. Never changed. The man to his right will always be the man to his right until he's killed. Now, if you can imagine thousands of men in a regimental front like this, that's not a very practical way to move your army around, however. The roads aren't quite that wide. So they need to form a column in order to march. Shoulder out! And the way I can do that is just like this. Right? Face! Now you see that I have a column and can consist of many thousands of men, and it can move down the roadway like this. They might take up 25 or 30 miles of road in doing so, but I can move them around like this, but I can easily get them back into the line of battle in exactly the same way instantly should I sight an enemy. Because it's very important that the group that can most efficiently get his rifles bearing upon the enemy will have an advantage. Front! And you can see they're ready to go in fighting position. When we came in, you'll notice that we marched this way, formed fighting position from the right. I can do it forward as well. Right? Hey! Counter march! 5 file right! March! Now they're in a line of battle, ready to fight the enemy coming over the hill in that direction. Whoa!
Quickly, lads. And you can get an idea of how long it takes for them to load. And that's another reason why we fought in this regimental front formation. Because you couldn't shoot very fast, but you could keep up a fire if you had everyone shooting at the same time. They have to bite the cartridge, they have to dump the gunpowder down the barrel, they have to put the bullet on top of that, ram it all down, and then they need to take what we call a percussion cap, which is a little metal gun cap, and put it on the end of the rifle, and that's where we get our spark from to set the whole thing going. Now, the most devastating way that I can pour firepower down upon the enemy is have everyone fire at once. If I add 1,000 more rifles to this group, you can imagine the devastation that that could cause. Firing by company, ready! Aim! Fire! Load! The problem with this is, can you guess, is what? They're firing back, but now all these guys' rifles are empty. And I have to load again, so they're defenseless for a short period of time. Now, if there are other companies around them, we can fire in that fashion, and each company can take a turn. So if you have one company fire now, and then another company, and so on down, we can keep up the fire that way. But if I don't want all my company's rifles unloaded at the same time, they can do this. Firing by rank! Ready! Rear rank, aim! Fire! Load! Now, I've put down a pretty good fire there, but I also know that the guys in the front still have loaded weapons. And I can watch my rear rank, and when they're about ready, front rank, aim! Fire! Load! Now, we got a pretty brisk wind today, but you can see all the smoke that's being carried off. If this were a no wind or a humid day, the smoke hangs upon the battlefield. And imagine thousands of rifles firing at the same time. The smoke very quickly obscures the battlefield, to the point where you can't even see what's going on around you, let alone the enemy that might be a couple hundred yards away. The flags were extremely important to us. They would be in the center of it all, and those men know that they can look to that flag, and if that flag is there, that's where we are. Or if I want to keep up a steady fire, probably what would have been going on in this portion of the battlefield, I can have them fire from one side, moving down the line, and by the time it gets down to that end of the line, these men will be ready to go again. Firing by fire from the right! Ready! One independent afterwards. Commence firing!